Alrighty.
Yes.
So get my interview questions set.
Are you in the frame?
I am
Let me
probably
check.
not.
Hold on.
Okay.
No, it's
No?
like a completely blank.
Here?
Shuffle it a little more. Perfect.
Okay, sweet.
It's gonna feel close, but it looks good.
It's alright, we got it.
Get out of here.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
So, okay. I spoke with you back in April.
Yeah.
You guys went to Europe.
Yes, we did.
So, what has been the most memorable part of this whole tour so far?
Jeez, it just that it never stops. It's been great. I'm trying to think if there's anything insane happened while we were over there. I mean, I think the craziest part is it's been almost nonstop sellouts. So that's been fun. We had a little pool going because it'd be like sell out, then it'd be like maybe less by like 80 people here and there. But then from like Glasgow, which was like towards the like middle of April till Albuquerque, which was just like about a week ago, it was straight sellout.
No way,
like
that's
nonstop.
so awesome.
And everybody had a pool going. Nobody picked Albuquerque, so everybody lost the money. But that was kind of odd. We'd show up and everybody would be like, "Oh, it's a sellout kid again,"
Oh man, so I bet the shows are super energetic and super
it's just
like,
a big packed. I think there was a huge one. It was like a 4,000 seater in like Manchester or something.
Yeah.
And, oh my God! Like I've got like that's the first time I ever actually had to go like this when like they scream when you first come out on stage.
Yeah.
And it goes, yeah. I mean, it was so freaking loud. Like,
Yeah.
I had to hurry. It was all high piercing too. You got such high voices.
Not hit that puberty yet,
Yeah.
where it's like, So I love the new album. Like,
Thanks.
each song is so different.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say this album is different from all your previous albums?
Well, there's definitely, like I was saying, there's like an evolution. I think, there's certain obvious things,
Right.
slower songs, some of them slower tempos, But I've always been a real big fan of melody. Even on the early stuff, it's just really about. I'm a big pop head. I like listening to pop songs. I don't like rock music very much. It's not very interesting, especially now, because it's just the same old emo screamo shit. I find like if somebody writes a Britney Spears track, it's much more clever. Or like a Neptune's,
Right.
Pharrell thing is
Catchy.
super catchy, interesting, and
Yeah.
odd. There's a lot of quirkiness in it, and I get more inspiration off of that kind of stuff. And even if you listen to in the Frankenstein stuff or the Tight stuff, all I did was I took, I wrote a pop song, and then I kind of Picasso'd it and deconstructed it, So it's like, Picasso could draw like Michelangelo, but he didn't want to draw Michelangelo. He wanted to make something different. So he could draw a perfectly, right person, but then he would like, the eye goes over here and the mouth goes over there. So that's what I did. And, as you take away a couple of those elements, it gets a little straighter, but I think, there's definitely an evolution, and like I said, you're going to kind of have to evolve all the time. You don't have to necessarily do a 360 and do a complete change, Jekyll and Hyde, like the band was not like this, and now we're like this,
Yeah.
But, there is always going to be an evolution, and I think some of the better bands evolve, In certain bands, it's the opposite, and sometimes bands are like the Ramones, where they play the same fucking song all the time.
They just go backwards?
Yeah, well, they play the same song, same record, same song, same record, then all of a sudden nobody cares about them, then all of a sudden they're retro, and then right before they die, they're in every commercial. But that's their story, and that's great, In other bands, it's like a progression of stuff, like maybe the Beastie Boys, where it's like, they were like that crazy, fight your right frat party stuff, and then also it was like Paul's Boutique, and then it was like check your head, and then all of a sudden everybody got on board and they realized where they were going. And we've always been so far in the future anyway that it's kind of nice that the rest of the world kind of caught up eventually,
Right, and there's nothing boring about this album. Like, there's so many different things going on, and I just love the fact that each song is different from the next, and like, there's a lot of variety going on. And my favorite on that whole album is Mark David Chapman. How did you even begin to construct that song?
Well, the great thing about that was I wrote that with I wanted to write that with everybody. Like, I wanted to write with every fan and every kid, so I was like, well, how can I do this? And then I kind of devised the method. I was like, all right, I'll give them, I'll set myself parameters, and they'll vote on the parameters that I do. So, like, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to write the song on either a synthesizer, guitar, or a drum machine. And then I would put it up, and I'd wait a week. They'd vote on it, and then they'd say synthesizer. I'd be like, all right, and I'd have to follow synthesizer directly. So I would totally write on the synthesizer, and I wouldn't like jump away from it at all. I would just go completely in the synthesizer. And then, do you want to use samples from this file and that file and this file? And if they chose a file that had the worst samples, I'd still be like, all right, I have to make it work somehow.
Work with it,
Yeah, so it was really fun to do, and it came out really freaking cool considering that I wrote it with everybody in a weird, odd way, and I definitely would love to do a whole record like that. I mean, the only bitch is that it takes you know, so long to make the damn song. It took like 2 months to write it because I had to wait every week for the new instructions.
Right.
What happened? Who won? Synthesizer won? Oh, dang. Click. All right. I know what you're looking at. You're looking at that, right?
No, I love that.
Okay.
I love that though.
Yeah, a little something for the wifey.
But that's awesome. And like, what's the metaphor behind the dialogue in this song?
The metaphor is basically that there's way, way, way too many bands. It's sort of it's almost a Jimmy Page part 2, but with Jimmy Page, the shtick was, you know, everybody was like, oh, why do you hate Jimmy Page so much? And it's really not necessarily even about him. It's more about the fact that everybody kept like, oh, Led Zeppelin was so great, so I'll make a Led Zeppelin fucking cover band.
Right.
And with Mark David Chapman, everything got so conservative, and it got even more conservative now that there's recession and the music business sucks. So they just keep signing the same crappy band, and it's almost like they're like the Borg, you know, like it's the same band playing the same song, the same haircut, the same fucking like record look and everything. So they could all be one giant band. It would be great. Then I'd love them. But like, and it's just why do they exist? Why is there so many bands and they never die? Like before, the cool thing about MySpace is it allows kind of a squish of everything.
Right.
You know, Joe Schmo can be in his garage and make a record and sell it anywhere.
For the demo,
but at the same point, it means that bands never ever die. And back in the day, if you weren't on a record company and you didn't have something going for you, your career was over. Now it's like you could be like, I'm still doing stuff. I'm Gary Newman. I'm still doing stuff. I'm, you know, some Joe Schmo from 2 years. I'm Disturbed. You know.
Exactly.
And then the same thing with all these little screamo emo bands. It's like they can do nothing and not really have anything interesting to say or do, and just be another motherfucker in the lineup and never die, and still be like on a MySpace and still exist and still play
still
shit
adding friends, still posting.
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, somebody's got to go and clear this shit out.
Yeah,
and if John Lennon was like the god of you know, of music that everybody loves so much, and that making Mark David Chapman the devil, why doesn't the devil destroy all these fucking motherfuckers? You know, take them out. You know, wipe them off the face of the earth. So that's the basic idea of it.
Yeah, that's sick. I love that. So Lindsay recently talked about how, in a recent interview, she talked about how she spit fire during her audition. And that's a huge, badass risk. When have you taken a risk in your life that is very memorable for you?
I'm not sure. I think I take a risk every night, but I'm not really. I'm not really thinking about it too much until it's all over.
Yeah. Even writing this song is a risk. I just thought about.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't know. I really never really thought about that. I'm sort of one of those guys who sort of trips through life. Exactly. You know, and it's just sort of like, oh yeah, hey, and it's sort of fall into stuff. I've always been incredibly lucky, which means that, and this is the part that's scary, is that instead of having sort of a, you know, I've had a great childhood, mom and dad. You know, to make this kind of crazy music, you have to have wonderful parents that are still married, and everybody supports you and loves you. You know, none of that other crap. And you know, so to me, what that means is that there's a bullet out there waiting for me. And that's how I think of it. I'm always thinking like, well, I've been so lucky for so long, gotten everything I've ever wanted. It means that like, where's the gun with the bullet with my name on it somewhere? Where is it? It's coming. You know, it's gonna be in the form of something like a brain tumor.
Oh God, no, knock on wood.
You know, so that's always my thing. Like I'll be, as soon as I get super happy, I'm like, wow, my life is great. I always immediately go, except for maybe tomorrow when I die.
What's gonna
in a car
happen?
crash or something. You know, like, looking over my shoulder, like, oh shit. Yeah. So that's what I'm always thinking.
Yeah. Well, you know, some people are just destined to do something. You know, so if you love it.
Well, this is what I was destined to do. That's kind of sad, isn't it? And there used to be people who did really cool stuff, from like Lawrence of Arabia and Theodore Roosevelt, and I'm just running around in my underwear screaming at people, and they never leave. No matter what I do to them, they come back with more people. You got to see this guy. He told me I was an idiot for an hour, and I paid him.
Oh man. So, as an artist, I know you kind of have to be aware of everything that's going on, reading books, movies.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorites that you like, you know, movies, books?
Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about this band, is that we're all like into that stuff, and it's not very simple. It's not like, oh, I like Led Zeppelin, so that's why I play guitar. It's like, you know, each one of us is like went to art school and have all these things that we're into, you know, so everybody brings something on the bus. The last book I brought on the bus was it's a biography of Jack Kirby, the guy who drew all the original Marvel stuff.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Sorry, I thought the wrong guy.
No, yeah, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they made all the Fantastic Four and all this stuff. And it's like his whole life and all his work and stuff. It's like a huge bound book. The last movie we've all been jazzing on it a lot is the whole Death Note series. And we were just in Japan, and the third one just came out.
I haven't seen them.
Oh, get it! It's fucking great.
Is it
Like you'll be
good?
watching it, and you'll be kind of like, all right, what's going on? And then
Yeah.
as soon as the